Hey everyone, it's Yo-Yo. Ann and I just finished up our meeting, and we realized after the meeting that the meeting was not properly recorded because we were using a different meeting ID than we usually use. Anyways, for those who missed it, I'm just going to take this opportunity to just run through the slides real quick, talk about what we said, and hopefully give you guys some insight on sustainability. So let me get the screen sharing started. Let's see here. Okay, so we had our town hall on sustainability today at 3 p.m. And you know, the town hall meeting, everyone is welcome, and we welcome questions, and it's an open discussion. We're holding the town hall meetings because obviously we want to be as transparent as possible with our policies, and we want people to also let us know what concerns them in the city, because after all, we want to shape our policies to be best reflective of the needs of residents. So, yeah. We wish everyone a happy Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, to everybody. And we know that everyone, a lot of people are celebrating at home right now with their family. So that's why we were trying our best to get this properly recorded. Sorry again that the actual meeting wasn't recorded. It was very exciting. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is multifaceted. So it's not just one thing, and it has different definitions. Anne was talking about how it ties into economics, right? Economics is the study of how we distribute a limited amount of resources to many people who need it. And, to me, sustainability means how can we make sure that we can enjoy resources today, but maintain enough for tomorrow, right? How can we not be excessive, right? How can we be conservative in the way we use the things around us, like our natural resources, like land? And this all very much ties into city policy, because cities very much dictate, cities have a lot of power to dictate what goes on, how land is used, what kind of density we see, how transportation is managed, whether or not we promote walkability and safety on our streets, things along those lines. So sustainability, again, big word. I hope people will keep a really open mind. And also with sustainability, something to keep in mind is that it's like we won't define the whole word. It's a big word. We won't define all of it in this presentation. And if there's anything we left off, of course, drop us a line. We'd be happy to hear your thoughts on it. So we're going to talk about the warming temperatures in Millbrae and the increased fire danger. We'll go over the rising sea levels and the danger to certain Millbrae residents and neighborhoods. We'll talk about promoting green energy infrastructure on a city level. That's with our planning and building codes. Also, we should talk about how we can better create transit-oriented developments and protect existing ones that are being built or are going to be built. We'll talk about development and density height limits in the city. And that all ties into the general plan and the specific plans, and how we really do need to get those updated to reflect the city's needs. So fire danger, we all know, we've seen the orange skies, very hellish scenes on Earth. And Anne was talking about the wildland urban interface. So what is a WUI? A WUI is simply where wildland meets urban. That's what an interface means, two things that meet and interact. And in Millbrae, if you think about it, we're talking about like the Meadows neighborhood, we're talking about up in Glenview, Highlands. These are places where a lot of people's backyards have trees, brushes, vegetation, things like that. So it's very much not a completely urban place, but also not a completely wildland place either. So you have homes mixed with forest and shrubs and vegetation, and that's what a WUI is. WUIs are of attention because fires are way more likely to be burning in these WUI areas in our city. So building codes in California have already implemented a two-step approach, which is get rid of flammable materials from the buildings that are in the WUI area. So this is, for example, wooden shingles or sidings on homes that are flammable, and also to oh, sorry, that is number 2. That's the constructing of the building with the fire-resistant material. And removing flammable materials means if there's dead vegetation, for example, dry shrubs, grass, bushes, things of that sort, that people will keep the sides of their homes clear to avoid catching things on fire. And Anne was also talking about how the city can assist with helping people clear vegetation. So because we are declared in some regions of our city a WUI, we can apply for grant dollars. We can get extra money to support efforts to clean up these high-risk areas. And we should do more work to, for example, help people clean out their yards, and then the city can help, their public works department can help haul away the debris to make sure that people don't have to go through all the effort of composting or disposing of the cleaned up flammable materials themselves. We talked about FEMA 100-year floods. So these are called 100-year floods because they're supposed to happen with a 1% chance annually, which means in a 100-year period, chances are one will happen every 100 years. They've been happening more than that, and we've been seeing that across the country. So across the country, we've had so-called 100-year floods every other year, and that's just the result of increased sea level rise. It's the result of warming temperatures causing severe climate patterns, and yeah, it's something that concerns Millbrae. If you look at this diagram that's on the screen right now, the blue area is the 100-year floodplain when we see a 3-foot sea level rise. And then the orange, which is right adjacent to the blue, is what happens if we were to have a 6-foot sea level rise. And as you can see, it actually covers most of our downtown. The blue area covers a lot of our residential neighborhoods, including near where I live, Bayside Manor, as well as Landing Lane. Let me get my pen out here. Landing Lane right here, we have, this is Marina Vista, this is Bayside Manor. And as you can see, so much of our downtown is all covered in this, floodplain area. And, this is our commercial district here. We have some In-N-Out Burger here. We have the TOD projects. So yeah, this is concerning. And, this calls for serious action now. The city prepared and completed a sea level rise adaptation assessment, which is basically a study of the sea level rise that's been happening. There were at-risk areas that were identified, and also the city studied mitigation factors, which mostly included, for example, updating our drainage plans to make sure that water is properly piped to our treatment plants and that water doesn't accumulate and cause homes to flood. And also we also talked about infrastructure on our shorelines. So when the water is rising, how can we make sure that we physically block it? So that's like building seawalls, levees, changing the shape of our shoreline, adding actual topographical features to prevent water from flowing into the city. Anne was talking about how she has used her position on the Millbrae City Council to make climate change a top priority, and I fully commend her for that. I think both of us are people who, if Anne were to be reelected and if I were to be elected to the City Council, we would treat climate change as a top level urgent priority, and it should be one of our primary council goals. And the reason is just because we have so many residents that are affected one way or another by climate change. This year, everybody was affected by the poor air quality, right? Everybody is affected by not being able to go outside, and everybody is affected by severe weather. So, and there's also residents who are at risk of losing their homes because of fires, because of floods. We need to speak out for those residents. Okay, so, and also we need to collaborate with other cities. So Millbrae can't necessarily do all this alone. We do need to work with neighboring cities who share the same shoreline we do with the Bay, as well as the county for funding purposes. Yeah, green energy infrastructure. So green energy is important. We need to be demanding the highest levels of energy efficiency from our developers, from our TOD, from Anton, who wants to build, from the new Office Depot project, whatever it may be. These projects should be as energy efficient as possible, whether it's the heat rating of their windows, or the insulation they use, or the energy facilities that they install on their rooftops, green rooftops, things like that. We should all demand the best. And Millbrae is leading by example. For example, with our new community center, we're going to be making sure that we're achieving the highest standards possible for the city. I am very passionate about expanding EV adoption. I think electric vehicles are a great way to advance sustainable mobility. And the city of Millbrae should be expanding and really cracking down on the EV charging installation requirements for Millbrae businesses. There are some businesses in our city, like, for example, Safeway, that were required to provide EV chargers to the public. And Safeway only recently did that after like 3 or 4 years. And that was a huge disservice to the community. Also, Living Spaces was obligated to do the same, but not a single person has been able to use their chargers. So I'd like to see more of that being expanded. We also need to expand Millbrae's public charging program. So we installed a bunch of public chargers near the library parking lot, near the farmer's market parking lot, 16 Mile House parking lot, and also the one near FedEx. And these used to be free, and people used to use them all the time. It was really great. But then the city started charging for them by the hour. It costs $1 an hour, and that's not too great, because it actually costs more to charge in public than it does at home now. It was passed off as a convenience fee, but in my opinion, it should be free again, even if it's only during daytime hours, so we can encourage people to visit our downtown, use our chargers, spend money here. It definitely would be a city subsidized program, but I definitely think it's something that we need. We should also be expediting things related to solar panels and battery storage installation. When a resident wants to get a permit or inspection for one of these projects, they should have it fast tracked. It shouldn't be hard, and we should make sure that we as a city council have the ability to tell our planning department that inspecting and passing solar panels, making it really easy for residents to get them, buy them, and install them, that should be our #1 priority. So I'd like to see the permitting and inspection process fast tracked for our solar panels and green energy storage. Anne was talking about how she's been working on REACH codes. So REACH codes, REACH, what they mean is requiring that new construction, so this is not construction, of current homes, but new construction in the future, and also major remodels. It basically requires more of your home to be electrified. So no more gas stoves you're talking about, or gas ovens using natural gas. Instead, we encourage people to use electricity. Electricity can be is renewable. We can make it more and more green over time. And this is something that a lot of cities have been adopting. For example, San Mateo recently adopted these green building codes. And this is one way we can reduce our overall carbon footprint through city policy making. Also, the reason why we want people to adopt green energy is because it helps us prevent brownouts and blackouts. And recently, we remember how when the temperature became so hot, where people were going crazy. It was just so hot that people had to sleep outside and turn on air conditioning all the time. PG&E had to go around shutting people's power off, and this happened throughout the state with different utility providers. And by having more people have solar panels and battery backups, we can make people less reliant on what is already a very strained grid, and help people be more resilient to changes in our energy usage, and resilient to changes in our energy production. So we also talked about protecting our transit-oriented development. If people remember back to 4 weeks ago when Ann and I were talking about how high-speed rail wanted to replace our Sarah Station project with a parking lot, a surface parking lot of all things, we both thought this was totally outrageous. If elected, I'm going to fight to make sure that never happens, and Anna's already fighting the fight along with the rest of the council members. We really do agree that high-speed rail cannot be changing our TOD project into a parking lot, and you know, we as a city, just like other cities up and down the peninsula and throughout the Bay Area, we see significant value in transit-oriented developments. These are housing projects located in close proximity to our public transit stations. You know, in the case of the Gateway project and the Sarah Station project, these are the ones that are to the west and east of the Caltrain and BART station in Millbrae. And the goal is to reduce the dependency on motorized vehicles. So we want families to, you know, live here and rely on public transit more than they do private automobiles. And we want to have a really strong impact on the local quality of life. What I was talking about during the call is the fact that people do have concerns because when we build transit-oriented developments, there's this concern about traffic, right? There's going to be more people going in and out of these places, whether it's to commute or to return home or to leave for work in the mornings. Yes, obviously things have changed with COVID, right? We're not sure how the new dynamics after COVID are going to work with people working from home permanently or no longer needing to commute as much as they did. Certain companies shifting their commute schedules. So there's going to be a lot of questions about that. However, I'd like to just ask people to take a really a holistic view of TODs, right? Like yes, we do have concerns and we will have to mitigate concerns, let's say with the Millbrae Avenue off-ramp, right? Or the right turn from Millbrae Avenue off to El Camino Real. We have local traffic issues we need to talk about. However, let's talk about the macro level, right? Let's talk about how by having hundreds more residents who work locally, live locally here in Millbrae. These are people who work, for example, in the city. And, you know, right now, these are people who have to commute a very far distance. They're clogging up the highways, 280, 101, the Bay Bridge, San Mateo, Hayward Bridge. We should look to how TOD projects, when designed and executed properly, can actually really reduce the negative impact of regional traffic by moving workers closer to their place of work. And also, this is a workforce issue. If you want to build strong workforces and you want to attract people to work locally and to really have a talented, a young, a dynamic, and robust workforce, then you need to create the housing and the space for that to happen. And TODs are a great way to get that happen. Again, they encourage people to not rely on automobiles. They have been proven to work in other cities. The data, the research shows very clearly that TODs are a net positive for the city. And again, that's not to say that we're going to be rubber stamping these TODs every time they come through. What we're saying is that we want to encourage TOD investment, and we want TODs to be a very, we want TODs to be encouraged at every stage of Millbrae's planning processes. So, as we said with planning, again, by we, I meant, you know, what we said in the call. Again, sorry, we messed that up. New developments in our city have all moved towards mixed use because we are trying to make the most out of Millbrae's limited land. Land, by definition, and really by our understanding of it, is only redeveloped every so often, right? Once something is built, you can expect it to be used for the next 30, 50, 100 years perhaps. So it's really important that in Millbrae, as a small city, and we have limited land areas just simply by our size, that we are maximizing the usage of our land. And how we do that is by working with developers, by properly zoning our city, by making sure that we have a long-term vision for how we want our land to be used, and also by making sure that we foresee future demands. So for example, if the future calls for more charging spaces, right? Because maybe everyone is going to be using electric vehicles in the future. Well, people will inevitably be doing that. That's a certainty. We might want to plan for more of that when we're asking for developments to be built today. So it's all about long-term vision, long-term development. And land use is an issue that, you know, professionals study, right? These are, you know, people get PhDs in land use planning. And it's a really big concept, but very simply what it means is that we should maximize our land, we should minimize disruption to our existing residents, and we should also protect resources, valuable resources like open spaces, parks, trees, things like that. Those are all really important resources to protect, and we want to keep building on really things that we've been trying really hard to develop, like transit, like public transit, like our transit corridors with our buses and our transit stations. These are all things we can further develop on to increase equity in our communities and to improve sustainability for the long term. Many people also know like Office Depot is moving away, and you know, they're going to turn it into housing, commerce, and whatnot. Anne was talking about how she'd like to get a gathering place, because currently, for example, when the city and the Lions Club does events with the children are on these asphalt parking lots with a bunch of oil and trash and everything. And it'd be really great. You know, this is exactly what sustainable development is all about. How do we balance the need for more and more housing, more and more structures, which are simply a reflection of our growing population and you know, our very robust economy in the Bay Area and the peninsula. How do we balance that with a need to create facilities like dog parks, like recreation spaces, like leisure areas and gathering spaces for the public? We can balance it. Again, it takes vision, it takes planning, and it takes it takes urgency. You know, you have to have leaders who are willing to be brave, go in and say, well, this is what we want, this is how we're going to accomplish it, and that's how we can actually increase the attractiveness of our city to developers and people who want to build and invest in our city. And yeah, like I said, long-term planning is important, because we have to think not only what we need tomorrow. You know, what we need tomorrow is for a building to be built. What we need in 10 years perhaps is, who knows? I mean, 10 years is where like maybe the Bay Area is somewhere that maybe we finally figure out transportation in 10 years and traffic is a thing of the past. And we're all about making, let's say El Camino is now a bus corridor and it's just for buses and bicyclists and pedestrians. Who knows? So that is, you know, we have the power. Obviously, there are some things that are beyond our control, but we have the power to, sorry about that. We have the power to control what we want to see in 10, 20, 50 years from our city. Anne was talking about trees, right? How important it is that we have, you know, tree programs in our city to make sure that we have preferred trees that the city can help sorry about that. Okay, so sorry about that. I think I cut out there. But yeah, Anne was talking about how we can, you know, use trees to provide more cooling for our communities. Obviously, it does reduce carbon emission, you know, carbon in our air, and it creates a nicer visual, you know, city. We're also talking about how, you know, a lot of people have turned away from vegetation because it's so expensive to upkeep. Some people have turned their driveways into totally concrete. The city has regulations against this, and it just simply hasn't been enforced. But we'd like to see, you know, more collaboration with residents to make our city look nicer, to make it more eco-friendly, and to help people create landscapes that are way more friendly to absorbing runoff water, to make sure that we're reducing flood risk through our landscaping. So yeah, we closed the meeting in honor of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who obviously passed away recently. And we leave you with two quotes from her, which was fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. And the second quote was, real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. And these were powerful quotes from me and we really pay tribute to Justice Ginsburg's relentless fight, and really a fight that will be remembered throughout history. You know, Justice Ginsburg was somebody who fought for rights of women, women's advancement and empowerment. And you know, she really led the court through some very historical times. So her influence on American history really cannot be understated. So yeah. We have the candidate forum coming up. This is a very popular event. 2 years ago, you know, standing room only, packed event, 1,200 people watching on YouTube. It was very, very popular. This year, we encourage everybody to tune in. Saturday, October 3rd at 4 p.m. Please watch live on MCTV, which is channel 27 on cable. If you don't have TV, you can go on youtube.com, search Millbrae Television, and they'll have a live stream that you can watch. And MCTV is asking people to send questions in. And I've been saying, if you really want to get to know a candidate, if you really want to know if someone's full of hot air or they actually know their policy, ask them the tough questions. And how you can get your question on air is by emailing that link right there, 2020 Millbrae at mctv.tv. Ask a question, any question, even if it's just a personal issue like, oh, you know, I have an issue with my lawn, or I have an issue in my neighborhood, or my streetlights have been out, whatever it might be. Email your questions in and then tune in. We have our town hall in 2 weeks on the same day, and the candidate forums at 4 p.m. Obviously, we usually have been starting these town halls at 3 p.m. So, you know, we're not going to be hosting the events. We're not going to be hosting our town hall at the same time as the candidate forum. Instead, we're going to have an after show, after party, after show, whatever you want to call it. We're going to have it right after the conclusion of the candidate forum. So after the candidate forum ends, which I hope everybody will tune into, well, actually, you should tune into it if you're coming to the town hall, because at the after show, we're going to correct any misinformation that was provided during the candidate forum. The reason why we say that is because during the candidate forum, there are actually no opportunities to really rebut. So we can't say, well, hey, you know, what you said was incorrect, what you said was inaccurate. Actually, here's a follow-up. There's no follow-up questions. There's no rebuttal. There's no further clarification. So we'll use our town hall as an opportunity to clarify any questions that have been answered, provide further information, and also answer any unanswered questions the audience might have had, and also questions that we feel like should be important for the public to know about. So please do tune in. Again, the time will not be 3 p.m. It will be after the conclusion of the Millbrae Community Television's candidate forum. We really need help getting the word out, and you know, we are running really close to the election. Ann and I are going to both get our mailers out really soon, but we ask people to put out a lawn sign. Lawn signs, you don't win election off of putting out the most lawn signs, I can tell you that, but they do help us spread the word, make people more aware of what we're talking about, get people to be enthusiastic about voting and learning more about the issues. Please ask your friends to do the same, and also spread the word about, that's supposed to say candidate forum, but please spread the word about the candidate forum. Sorry about that, I'm getting a call in. Let me take a look. Okay, so sorry about that. Seems like one thing's happening after the other here. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, spread the word about the candidate forum, and get people to watch it, because just like you would want to watch the presidential debates before you voted for president, even if you had your mind made up, you'd still want to hear a little bit more about the issues, educate yourself. Please come to the candidate forum. It's really important to us, and your attendance means a lot to all the candidates. Also, Ann and I are running a tight ship here. We ask for your donations if you can. If you have some extra money to spare, we're here running grassroots campaign. I can't speak for Ann, but I can tell you that I'm not accepting a single penny from a special interest. My average donation is $67. One of my opponents, their average donation is $640 something. So I'm really trying to keep it local. I'm trying to keep it accountable, transparent, and you know, trying to run a clean campaign here. Okay, so anyways, this was a much quicker presentation than I expected, because you know, it's just me talking. Like I said, I'm really sorry that the original recording never made it. I actually just figured out why. It wasn't because of the meeting ID. It was because we had started the meeting, and then the meeting had to be stopped and restarted because of a technical issue. And when it was restarted, the recording didn't automatically trigger as it usually does. Anyways, we'd like to hear from you. This is our contact information. Everybody, feel free to contact us at any time. We're here for you. We're here to help you answer any questions. We're here to take feedback about our campaign, and we're here to, obviously try to win your vote and support for this November. Yeah, I hope everyone takes care. Please stay safe. We will see everybody in 2 weeks for the candidate forum, followed by the after show. The ballots are dropping soon, so please keep an eye out in your mailbox. You'll be seeing the candidate statements. You'll be seeing a lot of campaign mail. Please educate yourself. Please read, and please let us know if we can be of any help. Yeah, I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening, great rest of your weekend, and I'll be seeing everybody around. From Ann and I, thank you for joining us for yet another town hall.